Okay, so last week we ended up stopping on the driver's side door, and I had to jump over here on the passenger side and get everything caught up to the state that that door was in. I've got the window regulator is in now and operational. I've also had to play with the lock a little bit more, get that right, and I've got these rods fixed up to where they're the right lengths. They're going to work out. This is, the button for the lock mechanism. Anyway, I'd like to show you this piece here. This is just a temporary piece, but since I had to cut so much off, the attachment flange on this the bottom of this door panel is now gone. So because of the height of the door, obviously, it's different than the Challenger door. So in order to have this thing not flopping around and fumbling with it all while I'm trying to engineer this out, I just put this this temporary ledge out of sheet metal right here, 3 tacks across. It gives me a nice easy platform to set this whole thing on while I'm trying to get it lined up to where everything has to go. When I eventually do the permanent fixture, it'll be a much smaller flange, but similar in nature, and I'll be screwing up from the bottom through into this this door panel to secure the bottom. Normally there'd be you'd be running screws in through this face, but the way this thing is shaped on the bottom, obviously we don't have that opportunity, and I don't want to trim any more off just to establish a flange that screws in this direction. So I'm just going to be coming up through a very small flange on the door with some screws attached to the bottom, and that'll be permanently attached to the door. What else I've done here is I've gone ahead and put some captured nut plates in areas that I just had screwed on with some Tech screws while I was temporarily lining everything up, and that'll give you a little bit more of a firmer connection between this upper flange here, which this attaches to the back side of the armrest all the way across here. I don't have all the screws in right now, but what that does is it makes the entire armrest solid, because of the fact that it's normally your pull that you pull the door is attached through a small hole here. You can't see it on camera here, but it goes through into a bracket on the door. Unfortunately, I have the motor for the window right in that exact location, and it's dead center of the window, and it works perfect. So I'm not gonna change that. So in order for me to make this strong enough for you to pull, I've got this entire armrest now captured with this metal bracket, just like I have on the driver's side. And also what I've gone and done is in this area there, you can see there's another screw that goes through. So what I've done here is I put another piece of 5/8 by 5/8 square tubing. It's 049 wall, and I've locked this all in and made this a little bit more fortified here, and added this 065 wall bracket here that I'll be screwing this through here and into that. That way when you go to pull the door open, you don't pull the plastic door panel off the car. Anyway, also what you can see is there's a little green tape over here, and what that does is it outlines the front edge here, and that will allow me to make a transfer pattern so that I can put my speaker in the door in the exact location it needs to be before I have to extend this out. As you can see, the green tape doesn't reach it to the end of the door. That represents the end of the door panel here. So I'll be modifying everything here later on, but for now that's a good spot for me to guide off of in order to make a pattern that'll enable me to put that speaker in. And so I'm going to move on from here. Well, I'm having a hard time focusing in here because it's dark on the inside of the car and bright on the outside of the car. So anytime I get in with the wind near the windows, it goes out of focus. Anyway, the good news is everything just about clears. The bad news is that the glove box opens that far. I don't suppose it's a tragedy if you have things in here, you could still get in there. But other than remaking this entire thing custom, there's no way to actually get that to clear unless you carve a profile out of the door itself, and then it'll look hideous as you close it. So that's one of the drawbacks here of trying to cram all this stuff in here from a bigger car. Anyway, so I'll have to make sure that everything's held back as far as where the speaker grill is, because right now it's just sitting loose. It interrupts the glove box. But once it's pushed in a little bit, it's fine. Again, this is something I hadn't anticipated because my car, again, it was 4 inches longer. That meant the dashboard was 4 inches that way. 4 inches is everything apparently here as far as the clearances are concerned. But I guess if you're going to put in just flat door cards with manual roll-up windows, you get to open the glove box all the way. But we want to have all the jazz here. So with all the jazz, we got limited access to the glove box. Anyway, we're going to mash on from here. All right, I just thought I'd show you this. I scavenged the speaker mount panel, just like I did with the package tray, for a number of reasons. It has this nice rigid downturn on it that keeps it from being a floppy panel. It's also got a little inset to give it strength, and it's also a pretty heavy gauge steel. So with all those things in mind, it should keep the speaker from rattling. In addition to that, it has these nifty little rubber isolators that the screws mount through, so to keep them. What you see here, though, is I've gone ahead and I've recessed it about 3/4 of an inch, and the reason being is everything is up against everything here. When the speaker was mounted flush on the outside of the old charger door, when I was mocking it up, this top edge over here, which you can't trim because that's obviously the face of the speaker, it was very close to the bottom of the dashboard. Well, I have to make a door panel that comes over and covers all of this stuff, so there was no room for any error there. Also, I couldn't move it up because it would run into the dashboard. I couldn't move it back in this direction because it would run into the map pocket that is here, molded into the lower door panel. I couldn't move it down any further. As you can see, we're pretty much at the bottom of the inside door anyway. I mean, there's a little bit more room down there, but comfortably this is where we can go here. So we're as far forward as we can go, we're as far back as we can go, we're as far down as we can go, and we're tilted as far over as we can go with this to try and get it from interfering with the side of the dashboard. Anyway, that's where I wanted to, what I wanted to show you, excuse me, before I put this back on for another mock-up session and see where we're going to go from here. All right, so here it is with the speaker mounted in it. Incidentally, a little observation that I've made here. This is, of course, a vent window, a normal charger glass situation here. In my car, I had a piece of custom glass made, which is a one-piece glass, which the glass extends all the way out into this area over here. And you can see how far down the glass runs once it's down in the door. So this speaker being set in like this to accommodate this dashboard would not work with that setup. That's something I have to keep in mind for the future, because I happen to like the one-piece custom glass look, and so that would mean that this door speaker would have to be changed to a much smaller door speaker, because this upper area here will interfere with the side of the dash over here. It's really, really close to it. So anyway, that's something for me to keep in mind in the future if I do another one piece and I use a Dodge Challenger as the donor car. To illustrate what I'm talking about, you can see with the door panel in place that the speaker rim is just barely peeking up above the door panel, and this is fit so that this clears the bottom of the dashboard. So with this set back a little bit further, it allows me to, when I make this top closure here, to just go up on a slight angle instead of straight in, because this right now ends up right about here. So it's, like I said, it's just there. So this is going to be real close over here, like everything else is. And like I said before, this is down as far as it'll go. It's tilted as far as it could go, because any further and it runs into the inside of this map pocket over here. So in addition to that, this is somewhat flexible here, so I'll be able to pull this in a little bit further, and that'll help out a little bit with a few other things here, as far as just making sure I've got plenty of clearance and it doesn't catch on the dashboard when you're closing the door. It doesn't now, but I like a little bit more space than what I'm dealing with here, and it's all a consequence of me deciding to use this. Like I said, on my car I had to make all of this custom, and it was much shallower. The armrest was just barely containing the switches, but it was a much flusher setup over here, and it didn't have the deep map pockets, which you can argue you don't need those. But this is a bit complicated to make up these armrests, and we can keep these. That's a lot of custom work. That's weeks of work that we're going to cut out here by just having to fabricate the top. Okay, while I'm waiting for the epoxy to dry, which is going to be a couple of day affair here, tomorrow I'll put the second coat on those mirrors. I'm going to finish out the inner panel here on this door, the build out, and I've already added this 3/4 by 3/4 inch ledge for me to set the door panel on. As I said before, I don't have a flat flange to screw in this direction, so the bottom of the door is just going to lay right on here and be screwed up from the bottom. This flange is coated with the weld-through primer on the other side and then welded every 3 inches along the bottom here. I've got clearance holes are already in it. Let me go over and show you what the door panel looks like on the inside there. As I showed you on the headliner, every once in a while I need a substantial piece of packing material, and I want it to be weatherproof, so I get this plastic decking, and then I'll just mill whatever I need out of this plastic decking material. And what I've done here is I've cut a strip 3/4 by 3/4, and I added it to the bottom inside of the door panel, so that when I screw to the bottom, I have some beef. I'm not just going through one thin layer of plastic here. The other thing you could do is put some sort of a captured nut on the bottom side here, which you need a flange to clip. It's all 9 yards, but anyway, I've attached it with flush pop rivets, countersunk them, so that that's slick across the bottom right there. And like I said, I'll have something substantial to screw up and into now. All right, using the same technique that I used for the top of the dash, I'm creating a capture out of some sheet metal and just piecing it together as I go, and taking the opportunity to draw this panel back as much as I can so that it has a nice finished edge over here. Anyway, I was looking at this glove box, and there's plenty of room over here. It's almost 2 inches over here that can be trimmed away, and then the end has to be finished off again, and then this needs to be filled right in right over here. Might just use the piece that I cut off if I'm careful enough. Might work out. But anyway, that'll solve the glove box opening situation. I'll move this stub over to here, which it has plenty of room to hit right over here. So if I cut this off and move this over here, we'll be good. At any rate, so I've done a lot of work to finish this out in the front, and I have to continue along the back side over here and to try and complete this lower half, and then I'll get involved with this upper half and see what I can do to fabricate an upper piece. All right, so I've roughed in this rear closure now, and you can see the way it wraps around the bottom here, and it takes in the irregularity of the Challenger door panel. The main thing about this is it's extremely thick by comparison to normal door cards that would go on a Charger, 68 Charger, and So you have to be careful about clearing the opening when you make that that rear closure. Anyway, so made sure that I put this rubber welting in here. This rubber welting is off the Challenger, and it covers the pinch weld nicely. And with that in place, I got my patterns to make sure that it cleared not only the bottom, but the curve and the back edge here all go into the hole just nicely. Anyway, that's roughly what that looks like. Again, I got to take it off again and do a little finish welding on it, and we'll go on from here. All right, continuing to build up on this interior panel. Some might say, you know, why are you bothering with this interior panels? Why don't you just get on with hanging the rest of the body and all the exterior stuff, and then paint the car, and then deal with the interior when you're done? Well, since I'm doing this, these door panels with sheet metal, and there's some welding involved, it's better that I get the fabrication out of the way. Last thing I want is a hot ball jumping onto a paint job when the car is finished. So I was learned my fabrication in stock car realm, and in the stock car realm, what's generally done is you build out the entire car, all the finish panels, crush panels, anything that has to fit up, you finish it out before the car even goes to paint. That way, when it comes time to reassemble the car, that's all you're doing. You're not doing any fabrication, you're not cutting, you're not trimming, you're not scratching anything. You're just merely taking the panels that you're already completed for the interior of the car or any other place that might be adjacent to the car, and then you just go ahead and put them in, thus minimizing any damage to the car. With all of that drivel out of the way, this is the pieces I've added here, these little towers that are added to here. And now what that does is it creates a smooth transition from the bottom here up to this top panel here. And I've got one in the front here, a little more complicated because it takes in the cavity where the dashboard goes. The dashboard actually up here actually stops in front of this, but this panel will protrude a little bit, so it'll go around the front side of the dash a bit. But anyway, this is also put on here so that that's straight up and down, and I'll continue on from here. Okay, a very simple start here to this panel. I've just bent it over very simply on an angle and then down because I needed enough flat area here to put this rubber grommet in for this locking pin, which basically locates the whole panel. So I'm starting and back engineering from this lock pin. The thing I'm not going to try to do is I'm not going to try to capture this underneath of the window whisker strip here, okay? Because there's just not enough room here for me to accommodate that. Normally what I would like to do is just take it across and then drop it down so that it hooks on the inside. Unfortunately, this won't be, because of the clips that hold this in, they'll be it's too close to the glass. So I'm just going to stop it shy of the window whisker and wrap the fabric around here, and that's where you see the this little gap here. Anyway, that's my start on my panel. There'll be more detail to the panel. It's not just going to be a flat panel, but I'm just starting out with a straight line across here, and then I'll be trimming it off on either side to match the contour of what's underneath of it. Okay, the panel's trimmed out now on both ends over here and here, and as you can see, I've just drawn a line here where I'm going to make a small relief cut so that I could have a contoured panel on the inside here that follows the inside radius of the armrest. But since I couldn't fold it over and grab the top of the door ledge because of the window whisker little chrome strip that goes on, the little stainless piece that goes in there, I had to figure a way of locking this in at the top. So what I did was I drilled two holes in the top, and I believe it was 11/64 or something like that, and I put some rod down through the holes, and then I welded it on the top side, then cut it off. And I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, you can see I've got two little pins, one here and one here, and they hook into the top where I have a couple holes drilled in there, and that just keeps the panel from sliding off the top. Anyway, thought I'd show you that before it's all covered up. All right, so this completes at least the fabrication portion of this inner door panel. I'm going to take all these metal pieces back off, do a little Bondo work on them, clean them up, prime them, and get them ready to be covered with vinyl, where I'm going to cover the top piece with vinyl. These will just be areas will just be painted out with texture paint, similar to what I did with the dash capture. Anyways, yeah, what I ended up doing was I just ran this upper piece through the bead roller with a flat die and just leaned it over a little bit to give this a little bit of a curve here. We'll smooth that all out with a little bit of Bondo. And then I laid this panel in here so that it gives you a clear shot here to your switches and your armrest and everything, which is kind of set into the door. Anyway, that's what it's all going to look like, but like I said, it has to be worked over with Bondo and primed and everything, and then eventually covered with the vinyl. Now, it's important to note that anywheres where it's metal to metal on the back side, I'll be adding just a small layer of fabric just to keep it from buzzing and rattling. In other words, this is over here is just metal to metal. So you can hear already, just me doing this, that there's a little bit of a, it'll set up a rattle. So it'll have to have some fabric on at least the back side of it so that it goes against it softly. All right, so I'm body working all the capture pieces. These pieces will be painted on the ends with that texture paint in the areas that'll be exposed. And this upper piece will be covered with some vinyl. I body worked that even though it's going to be covered with vinyl, just to make sure that none of the irregularities, when you're welding it, there's little wrinkles and stuff like that, it will translate through the vinyl. Anyway, that's where I am with that. Okay, I've got the spaghetti kind of looped in there to make sure that most of the plugs reach where they're supposed to be, and the modules hopefully will fall into a cavity. We're about to check all that out. Everything's just kind of tie wrapped in there, just a couple of loose screws. I don't want to make any permanent mounts here before I find out if everything's going to clear the inside of the door panel, anything that might interfere with it. All right. Well, I didn't think I was going to get it done. It's not 100% done yet. I still have to make permanent attachments for all the modules in the door, make sure that the wiring doesn't get caught up in the window tracking. Things like that still have to be attended to. But for now, everything here works. So I'm going to take this cover back off, these door panels back off, and then I'm going to replicate the whole situation on the driver's side. So looks like next week's video will probably be a little bit weak based on the fact that I'm going to be repeating this exact process. This took me this did take me 5 days to do this. It'll probably not take me as long to do the other side since I've already proven out certain aspects of this. It won't be so much of an exploration. Well, I apologize in advance for no content next week, or very little. I do have a little bit of footage on mounting the mirrors, so it'll probably be a little bit of a short compared to this one. Anyway, I just thought I'd like to show you this, how it came out, and thanks for watching.